When Chris was 9 years old and a Cub Scout, he was awarded the Boy Scouts of America's highest honor, the Medal of Merit, for saving his younger sister from a burning car. A 22-year military veteran who received the Purple Heart, a Navy Commendation Medal with Valor, and a Navy and Marines Corps Achievement Medal with Valor for actions in combat, Chris Kuhn was just sentenced last week to appease the Biden administration's war on its own citizens in the massive government setup falsely dubbed the insurrection of January 6th. Chris did go inside the Capitol after many others had been waved in by Capitol Police, but instead of causing any damage, Chris cleaned up trash, aided to stop theft of government property, asked Capitol Police how he could help, and asked people to leave the building. In the 12-degree Kansas early morning of February 11th, 2021, Chris, his 4-year-old child, and his pregnant wife, Annette, were raided by the FBI. Chris's wife, Annette, described the scene. She said, "There were 3 large armored tactical vehicles parked on my front, side, and backyard, and police vehicles that extended throughout the entire community. I opened the door, and for a second, I didn't realize that there were about 20 FBI SWAT team members with semi-automatic rifles pointed at my son and I. We were covered by the bright red lasers pointed at our faces, chests, and various points on our bodies." The FBI then forced a young pregnant woman and her little child to freeze outside in the cold morning air. Annette miscarried their baby the next day. The lack of self-awareness during an election year is astonishing, as Biden's federal government tyranny is on overdrive. Even reporters aren't safe from this tyrannical regime. Blaze reporter Steve Baker reported in December that he will be charged for his actions that day for merely reporting live on the January 6th event. What the Biden administration is obviously jailing Baker for is exposing the setup and perjury committed by Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and Nancy Pelosi's security detail Special Agent David Lazarus, a manufactured narrative used to throw the Oath Keepers in prison as the Pelosi setup unravels.
The story of David Lazarus on January 6th is very simple. His story that day is he was assisting the evacuation of the Senate at the time that the incident between Officer Harry Dunn and the Oath Keepers began. The Oath Keepers lined up between him and the more agitated protesters and assisted him in keeping them off of him. He had 2 separate FBI interviews which were in conflict with one another. In the first FBI interview, he actually gave a favorable story about his encounter with the 4 Oath Keepers.
And he stood in front of Harry Dunn for almost 6 minutes.
After he was brought in for his second FBI interview, he changed that story.
He was fighting back insurrectionists across the Capitol while being called the vilest racist names.
So what they did is they brought in another officer, Special Agent David Lazarus, to kind of bolster that story and give it more credibility by saying that when he arrived at the top of those stairs, that he saw Dunn standing at the top of the stairs being hassled by these Oath Keepers. At the time the Harry Dunn Oath Keepers encounter began, he was not in the same building.
Meanwhile, the Federal Bureau of Prisons has barred J6 prisoner Joseph Biggs, a decorated war veteran and former InfoWars reporter, from legally speaking to the American public, lawyers, and other sources close to Biggs. With the FBI employing the Bureau of Prisons to essentially torture the political hostages, speaking out with a comment for publication could result in a brutal beatdown by correctional officers and Biggs' return to isolation and solitary confinement. Last October, Biggs was black box cuffed for weeks and stranded on a bus while being transferred from Philadelphia jail to prison, a haunting journey that the government is prohibiting him from telling the world about, according to WorldNet Daily. Jake Lang has been moved to a gang-infested federal prison in Brooklyn, New York, apparently punished for relentlessly revealing the criminal hypocrisy of the events of January 6th. A mere smattering of hundreds of tragic stories that reflect the brutality of a tyrannical overreach by the criminals occupying the highest offices of our republic that the founders warned us about with prophetic vision. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Media Matters, the Democratic Party, MSNBC and others have asked me to apologize for making a parody video game criticizing the deep state and all the corruption. And to all them, I just want to say this. Go f*** yourselves. Alex Jones' New World Order Wars has been #1 on Steam thanks to the viewers and listeners of this broadcast. And I want to invite everyone, before they are successful at banning, which I hope they aren't, to go to alexjonesgame.com and follow the link to Steam and download this game for $17.76 as a message to the New World Order. You. You want to try to ban this game just like you want to steal elections and force injections on us and open up our borders and rape us. This is a culture war, and they're scared of this game. Get Alex Jones' New World Order Wars right now at alexjonesgame.com, because anything badass gets censored!